So, good morning. So we'll start our session. If you can please be seated. And this session is the Ministerial Roundtable on Food Sovereignty. And it will have 3 segments. The first segment will be a ministerial segment where we will hear the interventions of ministers who are here present and introduced by Italy and Ethiopia. And the second segment will be a multi-stakeholder segment with the interventions of stakeholders. And the third segment will be about interventions from the floor. So before we start, and I hand over to Italy and Ethiopia to open the ministerial segment, let me say a few words about food sovereignty. I think we all share the same definition. All of us here have quite concrete ideas about the concept, but I would like to make references to some fundamentals. The first fundamental issue when we talk about food sovereignty is the right to food. The second fundamental, if we talk about the right to food, it cannot be theoretical. It is a right that needs to be implemented. And its implementation evidently relates to policies. And the third fundamental, if it is a right that needs to be implemented through policies, these policies need to be defined in a certain way. And the optimal way of designing policies that can respect and allow the implementation of a right to food is inclusivity. So I just want to mention these 3 issues for the global understanding of a world session that we'll have. Looking at deliverables, but I think will be about the dissemination of best practices, the identification of priorities, and evidently the issue of investment. And we'll go back to the question of policies. So to open this session, let me ask the Minister of Agriculture of Italy to please say a few words and welcome remarks.
Grazie a tutti per aver svolto questa conferenza particolarmente importante. Permettetemi di salutare il dottor Ibrahim Mayaki, che ha aperto i lavori di questo convegno, di questa tavola rotonda che ho l'onore di co-presiedere insieme al collega Ministro dell'Irrigazione di Etiopia. Apre questa conferenza un ciclo importante che vedrà svolgersi in Senegal a fine agosto, inizio settembre, un altro importante incontro tra i paesi africani e poi il G20 in Sudafrica, nel quale avremo modo di riprendere i temi che l'Italia ha voluto trattare nella conferenza di Ortigia a Siracusa nel mese di settembre dello scorso anno. Un G7 importante, coinvolto nella sua realizzazione molti paesi dell'Africa per parlare di quello che è un piano che l'Italia ha proposto all'Unione Europea e al resto dei paesi economicamente più ricchi per sostenere un modello di che garantisca la crescita, l'autosufficienza alimentare dei paesi africani, che garantisca il rispetto di un modello di sviluppo e di culture importanti che vanno tutelate, valorizzate e garantite, perché noi crediamo che le differenze siano una ricchezza. E lo abbiamo fatto seguendo anche principi che riguardano il modello di sviluppo agricolo. L'agricoltura è una risposta efficace ad alcune domande che ci stiamo ponendo in tutto il pianeta. Rispondere a problemi di autosufficienza alimentare, garanzia di sicurezza alimentare, ma anche crescita delle economie attraverso quel valore aggiunto che è legato alla valorizzazione delle produzioni delle nostre nazioni. Per noi gli agricoltori sono i custodi del territorio. Abbiamo consapevolezza che oggi esistono problemi di natura ambientale che impattano sul pianeta, che esiste un cambio climatico che si è accelerato, ma crediamo che le buone pratiche siano una risposta, che un modello di sviluppo più adeguato al rispetto dell'ambiente sia una risposta, ma che la storia negli agricoltori ha fornito la risposta principale, e garantire la presenza degli agricoltori nei loro territori mette in condizione di proteggere il pianeta. Su questo l'Italia ha svolto all'interno della sua nazione un lavoro di rafforzamento del modello agricolo, mettendo insieme le nostre imprese, mettendo insieme le nostre istituzioni, i nostri centri di ricerca. Molti di questi, e li saluto, sono presenti in questa conferenza per mettere a disposizione il know-how della nostra nazione, di chi ne ha bisogno, e per dare un contributo fattivo che vediamo quotidianamente crescere in tante esperienze che si stanno consolidando. Abbiamo già in Africa realizzato dei progetti insieme. Questa è la parola che Enrico Mattei, a cui abbiamo dedicato questo piano, aveva in testa. Verso l'Africa noi non abbiamo mai pensato di attivare politiche, in troppi lo hanno fatto in passato. Non abbiamo però mai pensato che verso l'Africa si debba ragionare con criteri caritatevoli, immaginando di risolvere tutto con devoluzioni di denaro quando c'è disponibilità. Abbiamo immaginato di ragionare con il continente africano alla pari, con il rispetto che merita uno dei continenti più ricchi del pianeta in termini di potenzialità, di terre, di giovani, che per esempio nell'Unione Europea sono sempre meno. Su questo abbiamo impostato progetti in Senegal, e saluto il collega Diagné. Abbiamo cooperato con la FAO, saluto il direttore Don Giù che è qui presente, per cercare di sviluppare azioni che mettessero in condizioni di rafforzare e rendere resilienti i sistemi agricoli in Africa. Continueremo utilizzando una pianificazione che metta in condizione noi di garantire la disponibilità dei nostri strumenti innovativi, delle nostre macchine agricole, di mettere a disposizione i nostri centri di ricerca con gli avanzamenti in termini di innovazioni che l'Italia può fornire, esperienze che abbiamo messo in campo sulle indicazioni geografiche che permettono a un prodotto di essere garantito sui mercati. Le indicazioni geografiche non sono una forma di protezionismo, sono una forma di custodia e di protezione di merci e prodotti che non potrebbero resistere in un mercato globale all'aggressione di processi di standardizzazione nei quali noi intravediamo dei rischi eccezionali per il nostro modello di sviluppo. C'è chi mira ad avere un pianeta nel quale il cibo sia tutto uguale, che sia capace di abbattere i costi di produzione, abbattere i costi di distribuzione, accentrando nelle mani di pochi le ricchezze. Ecco, noi il mondo lo vediamo esattamente all'inverso. Crediamo invece che vadano difese le produzioni, le merci di ogni nazione, di ogni popolo, nel rispetto della loro cultura. Perché sì, per noi italiani, E credo per tutti noi il cibo non è solo un elemento di nutrizione, è identità, è tradizione, è storia, è appartenenza. E rispetto a questo modello l'Italia sta investendo e cercando di coinvolgere quanti vogliono in un processo che garantisca anche nella fase della cooperazione un elemento e un proposito. Cibo per tutti non basta, c'è necessità di cibo di qualità per tutti ed è questa la risposta che l'Italia chiede di condividere a tutte le nazioni che in maniera volontaria riterranno di cooperare con noi. Noi ci siamo e anche qui richiamiamo a questi propositi, invitando alla collaborazione, alla cooperazione, a sforzi comuni che mettano in condizione di migliorare il pianeta nel rispetto dell'identità dei popoli, della cultura, dell'agricoltura come elemento cardine di valorizzazione di un modello di sviluppo giusto ed equo. Grazie all'Etiopia che in questo caso ha avuto, e saluto il mio collega Ministro dell'Agricoltura che vedo in prima fila, che ha avuto la capacità di porsi avanti con questa conferenza per promuovere un'azione che non metta solo l'Italia e l'Etiopia in condizione di rafforzare il loro rapporto, ma mettersi a disposizione per valorizzare un impegno comune all'Africa e agli altri paesi che vorranno su tutto il pianeta. Grazie e buon lavoro.
Okay, thank you very much, Minister, for highlighting these important points regarding cooperation. And it's very important to have Italy and Ethiopia co-leading this session. Italy is an agricultural power, and the minister mentioned rightfully that Italy attaches a great interest in high quality food, and it's one of a few countries in Europe which has that characteristic. Now, I will ask the Minister of Ethiopia, my dear brother, to make his remarks. And it's important to note also that amongst all African countries, Ethiopia is most certainly the one who has achieved what we can call an agricultural revolution. Over to you.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, colleagues, Ethiopia is pleased to co-lead this important session on sovereignty alongside Italy. We thank His Excellency Ibrahim Mayaki, EU Special Envoy on Food Security, for moderating our discussions. While looking forward to listen good practices and lessons from experience of other countries, I would like to use this opportunity to share some important insights on Ethiopia's experience. Ethiopia's vision of food sovereignty is a long-term, comprehensive transformation. It involves boosting productivity, protecting biodiversity and genetic resource, ensuring equitable market access and trade, and building resilience to climate and economic shocks, so our farmers can exercise their sovereign right to produce, access, and consume nutritious food. Our national strategy is built on two key pillars. Number one, empowering the majority of our smallholder farmers. And number two, scaling sustainable irrigation development. When we say empowering households and smallholder farmers, family and smallholder farmers remain the backbone of our economy, employing most of our populations and making the largest contribution to agricultural GDP and staple food production. Strengthening their agency is therefore the same as strengthening national food sovereignty. However, these farmers face structural challenges like fragmented plots, high input costs, limited access to technology, climate volatility, and weak market connections. To address these issues, we are implementing cluster farming, a cooperative model that groups neighboring farmers to share machinery, quality seeds, fertilizers, and extension services. This creates economies of scale, reduces unit costs, speeds up technology adoption, and enhances market access. Early results shows an increase in cultivated areas and notably yield improvements, along with progress in honey, dairy, and meat value chains. To deepen and sustain, we are deploying a package of integrated interventions, expanding access to mechanization and climate resilient technologies, enhancing land tenure security and promoting land consolidation where locally appropriate, strengthening livestock systems, including fodder production and animal health, creating entrepreneurship pathways for youth and women in rural economies, mainstreaming climate-smart practices at all levels, and supporting the evolution of high-performing clusters into viable rural agribusiness. Second, under the scaling irrigation as a pillar of food sovereignty, in an era of climate uncertainty, rain-fed agriculture alone can no longer secure national food sovereignty. Ethiopia's lowlands, which are vast, arid, and full of potential, require a deliberate water management and irrigation transformation. Ethiopia is expanding its irrigation efforts from community-based smallholder schemes to medium and large-scale systems. Our goal is to increase irrigation land to 2 million hectares and with it unlock year-round food production and economic stability for millions. To do so, we are investing in modern, efficient irrigation technologies tailored to different agroecologies, strengthening watershed management for long-term sustainability, aligning irrigation infrastructure with holistic water governance. This transformation is about more than increasing production. It is about stabilizing incomes, ensuring year-round food security, and reclaiming sovereignty over all most valuable resource, which is water. A call to action, international cooperation, achieving food sovereignty needs cooperation at every levels. We therefore call for strong collaboration in 4 areas. Number 1, technology transfer, which is practical, affordable solutions for smallholder and agri-food. Number 2, local input production, especially fertilizers and biofertilizers to reduce external vulnerability. Number 3, technical partnership in irrigation and infrastructure, such as engineering, financing, maintenance capacities, and overall capacity buildings. Number 4, research and innovation cooperation, such as for seed sovereignty, biodiversity preservation, and productivity gains. Excellencies, Ethiopia is not on this journey alone. We stand with Africa and with all nations working to build a future where food is right, not a privilege. Let us build food systems that feed our people, support and protect our land. Let us act later, not later, but now. Not alone, but together. Food sovereignty is not only possible, it is urgent, it's just, and it is within our reach. I look forward with great anticipation to the contribution of all speakers in this session. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister, for this comprehensive analysis of Ethiopia's development model regarding agriculture. So after these two introductory remarks by Italy and Ethiopia, we'll now listen to the remaining panel, and I will start with the Minister of Agriculture of Mozambique. Over to you, Your Excellency. Is he there? OK. Bon, donc, comme le ministre du Mozambique n'est pas là, nous allons passer au ministre de l'Agriculture du Sénégal. Alors, Monsieur le ministre, vous avez la parole.
Good morning, everybody. As I said yesterday, allow me to thank first the Ethiopian government and the Italian government for co-hosting this big event. But I will be a bit provocative to start. I keep asking myself, how many of these conferences we're going to keep on having while having the problem not solved for the last 30 to 40 years. My small country, Senegal, 18 million people, 557 districts, of which 525 are rural districts. For the last 30 years, we keep on relying on rains and expecting to feed the people. For the last 30 years, we have failed together to produce in Senegal what the Senegalese people are needed. We are currently spending close to 1.6 billion euro every single year to import food. We are importing 1.4 million metric tons of rice. We are importing 806,000 metric tons of wheat. We are importing 406,000 metric tons of maize. We are importing 100 million euro of milk powder. We are importing 347,000 metric tons of fruit and veg. We are importing 200,000 metric tons of cooking oil, 200,000 tons of sugar. I strongly believe that if these meetings that we keep having, we don't act together in the right way, we're going to fail again. To enable all the partners of Senegal to assist the small-scale farmers to produce the 1.4 million metric tons of rice, we need close to 2.5 billion euro in order to do it. We need to cultivate 200,000 hectares of rice. We need 1,500 tractors. We need 1,500 combine harvesters. The reason why I believe that the new Italian government strategy through the Plan Mattei, where they bring the private sector leverage innovation, leverage technology, leverage mechanization, bringing private sector and governments together, supported with development and financial institutions, organizations like FAO, organizations like FIDA, the World Bank, the African Development Bank, bringing climate smart technology, capacity building for the small scale farmers, organizing farmers like the Brazil has done through the cooperative. We do believe that that's the right way to do. I'm calling each of us not only to act together, but to learn from the past what has not worked. These gatherings should have told us, should teach us, it's not only about the money. We should focus on solving the problems together in the right way. The right to have food on the table, give people dignity. Solving the small-scale farmers' problem is no longer a luxury, but a duty for each of us. Reason why the new young government of Senegal, through the leadership of His Excellency Bassirou Diomaye Diakhar Faye and the Prime Minister of Ousmane Sonko, we are organizing the small-scale farmers into cooperative, bringing mechanizations, bringing blended finance, bringing capacity building, leveraging of technology. Why Africa should depend on foreign countries for seed. Simple things. Look at how much the prices of certified seed, hybrid seed, have increased the last 10 years, times 10. If these gatherings are real gatherings, we must address those challenges. How can we expect to see the prices of seed multiplied by 10? How we can speak mechanization, challenges in Africa? We cannot solve the food crisis in the world if we don't solve those problems. I will finish, just 1 minute sentence to finish. Let's act together and let's act now. Let leverage of technology to leapfrog the food sovereignty. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister, for asking the right questions. And I think one of the aims of this session is to move from the right questions to the right answers. But thank you for highlighting the right questions, which are questions to each one of us in this room. Now, I see that the Minister of Agriculture of Mozambique is here. Minister, over to you. Yeah. And you have 4 minutes. Okay.
Thanks a lot for the opportunity to come again here to the podium to share what Mozambique thinks on these matters. As I said earlier, our main priority now is food production, is to through what we call intensive agricultural and fisheries production program. We want to raise agriculture into a real business in Mozambique, not just substance for our families. The shift from the aid to trade and investment, it opens access to a wider mechanism of funding our programs, because today, mainly Mozambican programs are funded through our small budget, but adding for that donations. Today, with this approach, it opens window for concessional loan that Mozambique can afford to pay in a long term. It also opens window for international private sector to step in and do their business, because they know that the development will be secure and more attractive for their. But it also opens a window for public and private partnerships. to make sure that we can move forward quicker and bold, as I said earlier. So we have been discussing with our partners, and one of the main priority is to create what we call strategic food reserves. But I'm not talking about having silos of grains standing, but to use the private sector as a mechanism to boost our local production and make sure that we are self-sufficient, not depending entirely on imports. For example, now we are importing 80% of the rice consumed. We are importing wheat. We're importing an average 75% of the edible oil that we consume. So we want to change it around and promote local businesses that will enable our private sector to be engaged in value chain and create our sovereignty in terms of what we eat. For that, again, as I said earlier, the bold engagement of all partners is needed. We're now trying our best to convince our developing partners, bilateral and multilateral, to come together in a private sector-led growth in a way that we can move quick and to overcome all the bureaucracy that we have been facing in the implementation of our. So, to conclude, we expect that alignment and engagement from partners in this approach. We need to develop smart funding, combine it with matching grants and credits, aligned with this new approach. We need strong public and private institutions, not project-based management. These stated institutions will ensure the sustainability of all existing interventions. So on behalf of our government, I will reaffirm our commitment to this transformation, country-led, people-concentrated, and guided by inclusive partnerships. We believe that with political courage, strategic clarity, and effective coordination, it is possible to achieve a more sustainable and a just food system in our motherland. So as we can see, there's a lot to do, but together we can move forward. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Minister, and for sticking to 4 minutes. Thank you. And now we'll listen to Minister from Somalia. Over to you, sir.
Excellencies, distinguished ministers, diplomatic partners, delegates, good morning. Now, to join you today at this vital session on food sovereignty as a subject that strikes at the heart of Somali's development journey and our collective future. Transformation of food systems is not just a national priority, it is a global imperative. As a climate change, conflicts, economic shocks, disruptive food supply chain across continents, no country remains immune. For Somalia, food system development is a matter of survival, stability, and sovereignty. For the world, it is a shared responsibility. Climate change recognizes no borders, and the only effective response is collective action, standing together and advancing together. Somalia knows these challenges imminently after enduring more than 30 years of conflict, institutional collapse, and recurring climate change disasters. Our rural communities have faced some of harshest conditions on earth. These crises have tested not only our food security, but our national cohesion. And yet, Somali farmers, pastoralists, and fisheries have preserved feeding their families with determination and preserving foundation of our agricultural heritage. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, today Somalia is moving from fragility. We have established a national transformation plan and Vision 2060. On agriculture sector, we have launched a national transformation plan and comprehensive agriculture transformation strategy to restore food production and drive inclusive economic growth. We are investing in irrigation, rural infrastructure, agriculture business value chain, and climate smart practices like while placing women and youth and smallholder farmers at the center. We have also aligned with the African Agenda CADIP framework and endorsed COP28 declaration, and are localizing initiatives like a Great Green Wall to protect our environment sovereignty. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Somalia seeks partnership. We expect this meeting to drive forward not only ideas, but action. We urge international support for climate financing, since the climate change effect is a global responsibility. Agriculture, digitalization of agriculture, and cross-border trade infrastructure. Somalia is ready to lead, to collaborate, and to contribute to more sovereignty and secure food future. Because of us, food sovereignty is not a theory, it is a peace building, it is a dignity, and it is a survival. In closing, Somalia stands ready to contribute to the promise, to share the front line of fragility, and to work with partners, friends, and peers toward a future where no nation's food security is dedicated, but built from the within. Thank you so much for your listening.
Thank you very much, Minister. And thank you for mentioning CADEP, which is our historical strategic framework for agricultural development in the continent. Now, I'll move to the Minister from South Africa. You have the floor, sir.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very, very much. Italy and Ethiopia, thank you. Together, we all come from different cultures, but we're here to discuss the one culture that unites us, and that is agriculture. In South Africa, we are working incredibly hard through the Ministry of Agriculture with initiatives to safeguard food sovereignty as a strategic priority in achieving long-term food and nutrition security. In the context of accelerating the food systems transition, food sovereignty emphasizes the rights of people, particularly local communities, to define their own agricultural and food policies. And South Africa's approach aligns with this by promoting localized food production, supporting smallholder farmers, and enhancing access to markets and resources such as land. I want to wholeheartedly agree with my honorable sister from Italy around the importance of avoiding unique culture, focusing on indigenous crops as a way forward. In this regard, South Africa is mapping our indigenous crops around the country. We're identifying underutilized plant proteins and leafy vegetables. We're characterizing the nutritional content of indigenous crops, as well as determining their ability to be resilient in the face of climate change. The establishment of community seed banks so that all players in the industry and sector have access to good quality seeds for all. And of course, looking at agro-processing. The importance of food and its link to culture is perhaps best summarized in the great quote in Italian, "A tavola non si invecchia." At the table, you do not grow old. We're also focusing on livestock and ensuring how we can improve resilience in livestock by breeding with local development of diagnostic tools for tracking and tracing of outbreaks and developing vaccines to be able to proactively prevent animal diseases, as well as initiating programs that incorporate smallholder farmers in the livestock value chains in South Africa. In pursuit of food sovereignty and the transformation of South Africa's food systems, the ministry is also providing extensive support to smallholder farmers to help them succeed in food production efforts. And central to this is our Comprehensive Agriculture Support Program, or CASP, which is our flagship program designed to assist smallholder farmers. CASP provides a holistic package of support from access to land, access to planning, infrastructure inputs, and extension services to enhance productivity and sustainability. We're also working hard to combat the rise of food inflation and how we ease that cost of food inflation, particularly amongst poorer households. We have a focus on food safety and quality assurances. And in this regard, our South African Good Agricultural Practice Program assists farmers, especially smallholder producers, to adopt farming mechanisms and practices that use environmentally friendly management of land, management of soils, post-harvest handling. And this initiative also supports compliance with food safety regulations. We're obviously looking forward to using the G20 later this year, and I'm looking forward to hosting those ministers at the G20, where we can grow and enhance all of these pillars that are contained in CAADP, and G20 process to land the CAADP objectives going forward. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Minister. And thank you for mentioning the G20 processes where we are already making sound progresses regarding the food systems issues. Now, I'll move to the Minister from Tanzania. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates. I would like to start by saying the Tanzania model is not very far from different been presented here in most of the countries. And I would like to clearly mention that Tanzanian model is people, community-centered, country and government-led, and globally inclusive. United Republic of Tanzania supports the concept of food sovereignty coupled with food independence. And this is the ability to freely decide on how we grow ourselves, share with others, and eat the food that is produced by our people and communities. And let's always remember that our communities are the backbone of the food sovereignty. This model was presented by many countries, including the two co-hosts, Italia and Ethiopia. Surely our communities have the right to choose what works best for them based on their local needs, cultures, and tradition, while we also look at their well-being towards other markets from the excessive production. The takeaway from this meeting I will try to attempt to answer some of the questions raised by some, but definitely the time is not enough to answer all the questions. But the model that was displayed by Ethiopia gives us all a great lesson for changing our systems. For the United Republic of Tanzania, food sovereignty is not just a long-term goal. It is an urgent requirement for meeting the food and dietary needs of the current and future generations. Climate change, global rising food prices, post-harvest losses, unstable markets demand, and global supply disruptions have taught us a lot of lessons that we cannot rely solely on external sources. So this is the first answer. We shouldn't rely on external sources. We must build our own strong, internal, resilient food systems. Of course, coupled with the countries that are very advanced in technological research and development to assist us, Italy being one of them, and that's why they are co-hosts of this forum, together with the UN agencies such as FAO, UNIDA, and others. This will be a fair, resilient, and sustainable solution to us all. But at the same time, we all need to agree, small, medium, and big, with our little, average, and large knowledge, with experience, to share this knowledge amongst each other in seed technology, in fertilizer, and in other biospheres. To this end, Tanzania has implemented several internal bold initiatives as follows in our own solution. At lower levels, we are supporting our smallholder farmers, fishermen, and pastoralists. Let's not separate these three together because they are by improving access to credit, finance, and modern farming tools, including extension services of expertise and knowledge, with inclusive markets inward and outward with our neighbors surrounding us. Number two is reviving and integrating traditional knowledge and indigenous farming practices that have nourished our communities for centuries. Let's not forget that knowledge, because the farmers, especially over centuries, have got that knowledge, and we found that most of the modern countries, they rely on that traditional knowledge over generations. Number three is strengthening local food system through public procurement from local producers, school feeding programs, and support for farmers' cooperative mechanism. And number five is promoting climate resilient agriculture through the National Climate Smart Agriculture Program while scaling up agroecological approaches. Your Excellencies, let me say that food systems transformation requires both national and community ownership and resilience. And the international part and other external come much later as a secondary. It also requires the full respect of people's choices, their culture, and their environment surrounding them. Let us remember, the right to food is also the right to choose how we feed ourselves. That choice belongs to our farmers and our communities, and finally to our nations. Together, let us move forward with strength and purpose towards the future where everyone has enough to eat and excessive also to feed others and to protect our planet and respect our people. We in Tanzania are ready and open to share with others our little knowledge that we have, our experience, and the level that has helped us to reach 128 production now, which is excessive of what we need as a requirement. We are already discussing with several programs and countries globally, including the Piano Mattei plan, which was mentioned here, in several spheres of enriching our local communities and farmers through different types of crops, such as coffee. We are also in collaboration with some of the key United Nations agencies, such as FAO, UNIDO, IFAD, and others, through the country agricultural framework in the United Republic of Tanzania. We welcome others because we have a lot of land, fertile land, almost to the tune of 10 million hectares with fresh access of fresh water bodies that we are willing to work with international investors to approach. I thank you once again, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Minister, and thank you for highlighting two critical issues, the focus on communities and the enhancement of internal capacity. I think these two factors are crucial in order to attain food sovereignty. So we have ended the ministerial segment. I'm not competent enough to make a synthesis, but I will focus on three issues. The first one is that notice political determination. It's not political will. It's political determination to make progress. And I think that's an important point. And that political determination is reflected in the several instruments that you mentioned, ministers. Political determination, instruments, and third aspect, the size of the complexity of food sovereignty is reflected in the answers that you give. So please give them a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you very much. So now we are going to move to a stakeholder session. Ministers can stay in the podium. Am I right? Okay. The ministers of Ethiopia and Italy will stay. The discrimination. It's an optimal organization. Okay. So, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now we are going to move quickly to the stakeholder session, where I will ask a few questions to the DG, the Director General of FAO, the President of IFAD, the Director General of Alliance for Biodiversity, the CEO of Auda NEPAD, the President of COPA, and the CEO of the Kenya National Farmers Federation. Please come to the podium. This is, I think you can stay here. These are my papers. So, but I will ask the same question to the DG of FAO, Director General of FAO, my dear friend, and mi estimado hermano de IFAD, President of IFAD. So I will start with DG of FAO. This is not a new question for you. We have been talking a lot about investments and how investments can trickle down to micro, small, and medium producers. The question is, what are the virtuous circles that can allow the trickle down of investment and financing to the micro, small, and medium producers? DG, you have 3 minutes. Over to you. One question, 3 minutes.
Thank you, brothers, the dear Minister of Italy and also the Ethiopia. I always see them fully engaged, listening and learning I know it's, I said the previous dialogue, I said money is important. But I know I was a deputy minister of agriculture in China. We manage about 400 million smallholder. So it's an equal population of Europe. Money is always big issues. But how to trickle money down to the small villages? It's a question you should ask God, not ask me. But we have to think about some pragmatic solutions. I fully agree with the Minister of Senegal. We need some action from the village. That's why I started initiating a digital village. We use the modern tools and digital financials. First is some have limited subsidy to the smallholder farmers. But at the same time, you start at 1 million down to the village. How many cents benefit by smallholder farmers? So we have to use the modern tools. Second, we build the trust between farmers and any kind of institutions, public, private, or PPP, or some long-term, short-term. That's very important. Trust not only de-risk. A lot of people, I hear that, even minister here, you talk about always on behalf of your government. You did it on behalf of farmers. De-risk, you always on behalf of the stronger side. You did this think aware of the vulnerable side. That's why Dr. Yunus now is chief advisor, like Prime Minister of Bangladesh. He was. So how to trust the smallholder farmers? We need the government to come to step in. You get some, about 70 years ago when I was a vice governor in China, in poorest province, we got 1 billion or 2 billion yuan from the Ministry of Finance, and then directly translate to the smallholder farmers. And then I said, no, we should change the way of doing business. We started an insurance company, reinsurance, and the farmers can get the credit with a low interest rate from the commercial bankers. So 6.5% annually that time, it's very high. And then 4% covered by that subsidy. And the reinsurance company, it's the government cover the cost. And then the farmer only pay 2.5%. So you have to reduce. That's a financial service charge to the smallholder farmers. That's you need the solution and a packed solution to minimize the risk on behalf of stronger power, and also get the farmers, smallholder farmers interested. Third, we have the smallholder farmers to differential sectors, more marketable, scalable, and also benefit. Because smallholder farmers, even big farmers in the United States, in Brazil, you need the government to support to access. Why the president of Lula, president of Trump, they always they are open the market for their farmers. Because the government, you have to play your role. International, national, marketing, accessibility. Thank you so much.
The issue of de-risking and the role of governments. And the role of governments is extremely important in framing that ecosystem. So, President of IFAD, over to you, and you can answer from here.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having us. So, obviously, farming is a business like many others. So you have first, you need two elements. One is soil health and water, but you also need many more access to finance, connecting to markets. And we have to also understand that private sector is looking for very different variables to what the public sector is looking at. When we talk to the public, to the private sector companies, they are looking for responding to demand, for speed, for scale, and that's make sure that we're putting on the table in order to connect. In the case of small-scale farmers, the challenge is even bigger. As we know, it's a matter of economies of scale. It's a matter of aggregation, of governance of cooperatives. So the elements of challenge are even more difficult, and in many cases in rural areas, which are not necessarily connected. But let me just share 4 areas that I would like to, that we are working, I believe are very important. The first one is obviously instruments. We talk a lot about the private sector, public, but you need instruments to connect. For us, that means developing guarantees, working with public development banks, agricultural development banks, making sure that rural credit is flowing. We have a number of programs, especially related also to climate adaptation, where small-scale farmers are receiving 0% interest rates in order to implement climate adaptation activities. It's also about compensation mechanisms. I was just in Mexico, and you have a tension in some areas where we were between the avocados and keeping the forest. But if you want to keep the forest, you need eco-payment systems that also helps in supporting those forests. So instruments, specific instruments, is the first that I would like to highlight. The second one is how we can also use the data and geospatial technology. In our case, for example, we think in order to identify where it's needed and how we can invest better. In our case, we're partnering now with the Leonardo Group to the European Space Agency, for example, to understand some of the livestock migration routes and assess how effective we can be to reduce farmer-herder conflicts. So technology, data, we presented yesterday the financial flows to food systems, understanding where they're coming from the private, what is coming from the different sectors in the government, from financial institutions. That's also very important. And the third one I would like to mention is obviously partnerships. So we just mentioned in Tanzania, we're bringing some Japanese companies, big multinationals connecting to small-scale farmers. We're trying to do the same now with Italy. I think it's important that we try to connect the global multinational companies to that, or global value chains to the small-scale farmer and to the local private sector ecosystem. And finally, we have a lot of governments in the room. I think the accountability on commitments is very important. We see every time on the CADEP compact that there have been a number of commitments of investments in agriculture and food systems that have not been complied, event after event, making a lot of commitments, but I think we also need to focus on tracking that progress. If we want to really partner with the private sector, instruments is the first thing, but obviously commitments of how we are making that ecosystem, local ecosystem, constructive and conducive to investment from the private sector will be even more important. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for mentioning the agricultural development, very critical instruments which tended to fade away, but are critical in the landscape of agricultural development. Now, I will ask a question to the Director General of Alliance Biodiversity, Juan Lucas Restrepo. Nationally, instruments that government use, NDCs, national pathways, CADEP processes. There is a diversity of instruments, and sometimes the coordination within that diversity is quite complicated. So if we want the principles of food sovereignty to be reflected in all these processes, what do you suggest? What do you propose? Over to you, sir.
Thank you all, especially our co-hosts for this roundtable, and thank you for the very, very complex question. I would like to, not to fully respond it, but to relate it to 3 points, 3 principles that we believe are very critical. The first one is that food sovereignty is not isolation, it's grounded on cooperation. It doesn't mean turning inward. On the contrary, it means enabling countries and communities to exchange knowledge, learn from each other, and co-develop solutions while retaining the freedom to define context-specific pathways. It's about building food systems that are locally anchored, yet globally connected, ensuring that policies reflect cultural values, ecological realities, and national priorities, while contributing to shared global goals like climate resilience, biodiversity, nutrition. And it requires a careful balance, supporting local production while maintaining open and fair international trade, as this is essential to achieving true food security and resilience and to ensure the right to food for all. As we heard from Prime Minister Meloni yesterday, tradition and innovation need to coexist and reinforce each other. The second point is that national planning framework for food, climate, and biodiversity need to be co-created through inclusive, multi-stakeholder, multi-sectoral processes that take into account those different needs and standpoints from public to private sector, and place farmers, indigenous peoples, and youth at the center, and very importantly, are evidence-based. And the third point is that we need to make sure that as we integrate food sovereignty, that means that NDCs and investment plans must walk the talk by channeling, as we've heard today, resources to local solutions. It's through direct climate and agricultural investments to the ground level that we can ensure climate finance and agri-food budgets reach small-scale producers, indigenous communities, women, and youth as agents of change that will ultimately deliver on food, environmental, nutrition, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for putting this emphasis on how concretely food sovereignty principles can be reflected nationally in allowing an optimal coordination process. Now, it's a particular pleasure that I have to ask a question to my dear sister Nardos, the CEO of Auda Nepal. And nationally, we have shared priorities. How do we link these shared priorities to international processes so that we can push them ahead? We heard the Minister of South Africa talk about the G20. It's an example of linking national priorities to international processes. So over to you, my sister.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mayaki. Certainly, you know better than I do because you've been running this agency for many years. But I think, you know, the most important thing is that the international recognition of the right to food sovereignty that we've been listening over the last 2-3 days demands really a unified and strategic approach across Africa, but beyond, because we need this partnership, collaboration, and it rotates around several shared priorities that could catalyze the whole process. The first one is the understanding, and we've been hearing it, that empowering smallholder farmers, women, and youth, that is the only way where we can have inclusive and equitable growth and development. Certainly at the heart of food is the empowerment of those who produce our food, and the CADP, Kampala Declaration and Strategy 2026-2035, and the Africa Common Position on Food Systems really have put accelerated on this. But in Africa, we have realized that this could be achieved if we have a holistic approach, an integrated approach with vertical and horizontal linkages. A vertical linkage meaning from the international down to the continent, down to the regional levels and national levels, and down to the communities, but also vertical where we have all our different ministries working together. There is no way that we can achieve sovereignty if we just assign that to the Ministry of Agriculture. It's the Ministry of Finance, it's the Ministry of Trade, it's the Ministry of Industrialization. It's all together, working together, that could make a difference. And this has been really a case and showcased by Ethiopia. The second one is we've learned that we need to protect traditional knowledge and practices. Traditional agricultural, fishing, and pastoral practices are currently under threat, yet they hold the key to ecological sustainability and cultural Countries are aligning around the need to safeguard these practices through certification schemes and also having some kind of branding policies. And these efforts will would preserve heritage while boosting rural economies. The third one is promoting climate resilient agriculture. Over the years, we have realized that climate change is a shared challenge and climate resilient agriculture is a shared solution. Nations are integrating food sovereignty into their nationally determined contributions, NDCs, and agricultural investment plans, ensuring that local production and adaptive practices are prioritized in national planning framework. And not only planning framework, but also in the budgeting framework, which is very critical. And the third one is harmonizing policies and tracking commitments at all levels, at all levels. And finally, the most important thing is unlocking finance for local solutions. Countries are embracing blended finance models and de-risking instruments to channel investments toward SME producers. The African Union Development Agency, your agency, and Italian partnership is a prime example, supporting the development of bankable projects in priority value chains and linking them to climate and trade finance, particularly, for example, in the Lobito corridor, in the Abidjan-Lagos corridor. It's not just infrastructure, but we are building economies and we are promoting smallholder agriculture around that value chain. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, let me recognize the presence of the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Sanusi Zua. And we'll move now to questions to non-governmental organizations, COPA, and the Kenya National Farmers Federation, and it's the same question. It's about how practices can be related to food sovereignty and the scale them up to make national agri-food system more sustainable, equitable, and resilient. But let me reframe it with two issues. You have an example of local good practices. And you look at how national policies are being designed. So what is your view from the analysis that you do of your local practices? What is your view of these national policies and their design? So I will start with COPA, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
Grazie. Buongiorno a tutti. Gentilissimo signor Ministro Lollobrigida, gentilissimo Belai, gentilissime e gentilissime autorità presenti in sala. È per me un onore poter portare oggi la voce degli agricoltori europei in una così importante assemblea. Io vorrei partire da alcuni numeri che sono fondamentali per capire ciò che gli agricoltori dovranno fare negli anni a venire. A livello mondiale siamo 600 milioni di agricoltori, di cui l'84% imprese familiari che detengono il 12% delle terre e riescono ad essere in termini produttivi il 35% di ciò che oggi necessita per garantire la sicurezza alimentare. In questo percorso è evidente che ci sono alcuni dati che vanno altrettanto considerati. Nel mondo ci sono 733 milioni di persone che vivono in uno stato di denutrizione, a livello mondiale una persona su 11, a livello africano una persona su 5, e abbiamo più del 30% della popolazione mondiale in situazione di insicurezza alimentare. Insicurezza alimentare che molto spesso è dovuta agli effetti del cambiamento climatico, ad aspetti commerciali, a guerre in corso, a situazioni geopolitiche, e certamente non facilitano il ruolo degli agricoltori. Il ruolo degli agricoltori che sempre più deve essere incentrato verso il grande tema della garanzia della sicurezza alimentare, della garanzia della sicurezza alimentare intesa come qualità, la food safety, e altrettanto sulla food sovereignty. Ed è in questo percorso che sempre di più abbiamo bisogno di partnership forti, importanti tra le varie agricolture a livello globale, in particolar modo tra l'Europa e l'Africa. Ci troviamo di fronte ad una stagione importante, una stagione di forti cambiamenti, e sempre di più dovremo produrre, cercando anche di garantire la stabilità delle produrre di più mantenendo le risorse naturali. È quasi una sfida impossibile, ma dobbiamo riuscirci. E in questo percorso diventa fondamentale la partnership tra l'Unione Europea, gli Stati dell'Unione Europea e i paesi africani. Come è stato più volte richiamato, siamo felici come italiani di poter, insieme al governo, essere parte di questa di cambiamento insieme al piano Mattei, ma altrettanto sta facendo l'Unione Europea con il Global Gateway. E certamente dovremo lavorare sempre di più verso un modello di crescita economica condivisa, sia sugli investimenti che sui benefici reciproci. Come più volte richiamato anche poco fa da parte del mio ministro Lollobrigida, è terminata la stagione in cui qualcuno può approfittare dell'altro. E allora in un percorso comune di crescita, di stabilità, diventa sempre più fondamentale promuovere sistemi alimentari che siano sostenibili, resilienti, che siano ecologicamente validi, ma soprattutto economicamente vantaggiosi. Uno dei problemi più in Europa, ma il problema sentito a livello globale, è come noi avviciniamo i giovani alle nostre attività e come noi garantiamo il ricambio generazionale. E tutto passa attraverso la capacità di costruire reddito, è stato più volte richiamato negli interventi precedenti. Importante sarà garantire un giusto reddito per gli agricoltori, ma soprattutto un giusto prezzo di acquisto per le nostre produzioni del mondo. Tutto questo dovremo fare tenendo conto dei cambiamenti climatici e dei vari shock esterni che stiamo subendo. E quindi sempre di più sarà fondamentale garantire investimenti adeguati per poter avere un'agricoltura sempre più performante e produttiva. E per far questo sarà fondamentale l'innovazione e la digitalizzazione. I processi di innovazione tecnologica, la digitalizzazione, le soluzioni digitali, il knowledge necessario e fondamentale per poter garantire ovviamente conoscenze passa attraverso la capacità della partnership tra le parti. Chiudo, credo quindi che sempre di più insieme alle grandi agenzie presenti qui in Africa, su tutte la FAO, le Nazioni Unite e quindi da una parte, come ho già detto, sfruttare gli investimenti, dall'altra parte promuovere modelli agricoli intelligenti che possano resistere ai cambiamenti climatici e che possano essere anche proattivi verso la resilienza, rafforzare le catene di valore e l'accesso al mercato da parte di tutti gli agricoltori. Dovremo investire sempre di più in scienza e ricerca, partendo anche dalla capacità di poter gestire al meglio l'intelligenza artificiale e da ultimo potenziare il ruolo delle donne e dei giovani nei sistemi agricoli. Grazie.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. I've been able to notice the active role that COPA is playing in the landscape of agricultural transformation in Italy, and it's a very active role. Now, same question to the CEO of the Kenya National Farmers Federation. Good practices, national policies, what is from your point of view? Over to you, sir.
Thank you, sir, the moderator. So my name is Mwenda Ntomailo, the CEO of the Kenya National Farmers Federation, KENAF, which is a proud member of the World Farmers Organization, WFO. I thank the governments of Ethiopia and Italy for organizing this and say that I'm very proud that farmers are here, not just as food producers, but as critical agents in food systems transformation. It's imperative that we are talking about food sovereignty because it came up about 20 years ago with the Nyerere Declaration, which gave voice to the vision that remains deeply relevant today. The right of people to healthy and culturally appropriate food produced through sustainable methods, and their right to define their own food and agricultural systems. Today, as we face the triple crisis, sovereignty is more than a concept. It is a necessary foundation for a just and resilient future. In Kenya and across Africa, local good practices in food sovereignty have helped build resilience, but they must be scaled up nationally by integrating them in investment plans, NAIPs, nationally determined contributions, NDCs, but also agricultural transformation strategies. This should also, of course, be captured in continental compacts like the Kampala Declaration and many others that have been mentioned by my colleagues here. If we are serious about accelerating food systems transformation, we must start by recognizing that food sovereignty begins with the farmer sovereignty. That means ensuring land rights, fair markets, access to affordable finance, and climate resilient schemes. It is also important to invest in farmer-led innovations that are rooted in local knowledge and context. It also means strengthening farmer organizations that represent millions of voices across rural areas, not only in Africa, but around the world, and give them true agency in national and international projects. To trigger virtuous cycles of investment, we need public and private finance that values local knowledge and reduces the risk for farmers. This includes de-risking climate resilient inputs, supporting farmer organizations, and ensuring that farmers are not merely beneficiaries, but partners in design and delivery. The World Farmers Organization, to which KENAF is a proud member, has made it clear nutrition and food security are inseparable, and farmers are central to both. The WFO's revised 2024 policy on sustainable global food security and nutrition affirms the importance of empowering farmers as full partners in the design and delivery on food and nutrition strategies. Nutrition as such must not be an afterthought. It is a fundamental outcome of food systems transformation. This means supporting farmers to grow nutrient-rich crops, improving infrastructure and education around storage, processing, and food preparation, and ensuring that communities have access to healthy, safe, and affordable food. We need food systems to nourish people, not just fill plates. And as such, systems that support diverse crops, promote healthy diets, and ensure food is produced by farmers in a way that is accessible, nutritious, and sustainable. Let me
we have 1 minute.
Yeah, let me conclude by saying that we need to move from promises to practice, because when farmers thrive, nations thrive as well. As I also say that next year, in June of 2026, KENAF will be hosting the World Farmers General Assembly for 2026. And I do invite all of you here to Nairobi for that. Minister Lollobrigida talked about something that maybe could be explained to the General Assembly of the World Farmers Organization, organized by an African National Farmer Organization, and all the ministers here. I also saw Commissioner Bilakati. You are all welcome to Nairobi in June of 2026. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks to you. Thanks to you. There are two issues that need to be picked out of what you said, and but we tend to forget. First of all, small-scale farmers produce 80% of the food we eat. And secondly, who are those who finance agricultural transformation, agri-food system transformation of the continent? It's small-scale farmers. They are the financiers of the transformation of the system. So it's very important but we remind ourselves this point. Now, thank all the panelists who have responded to these questions, and we'll take interventions from the floor. And I think Hungary wants to intervene. Is Hungary?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Your view may be blocked by the operator, but I'm here. Thank you very much. On food sovereignty, here I am.
Yes, I see you.
The challenges of the recent years have shown us what a treasure food sovereignty and food security are. To mention but a few, the COVID pandemic that has disrupted the supply chains, the droughts, the floods, and other unexpected freezes, and erratic weather events, the rise of armed conflicts, and the consequent surge in input and energy prices have shown how the production and accessibility to good quantity and good quality food is necessary. And therefore, we believe that ensuring food sovereignty is not only an agricultural issue, but a crucial factor of national sovereignty. And based on this consideration, Hungary concentrates on the key factors of food security and food sovereignty, such as climate resilience, sustainability, shortening the supply chains, as well as ensuring generation change in agriculture. As for the climate resilience of agriculture, we prioritize climate adaptation measures, recognizing that climate change poses one of the greatest threats. We endeavor to implement advanced water management strategies supported by precision irrigation technologies, effects of droughts and erratic weather patterns. Furthermore, we promote regenerative agricultural practices that enhance soil health, biodiversity, and carbon sequestration, ensuring long-term sustainability for our farming communities. As for sustainability, we are committed to increasing organic farming and food production, enhancing circular economy, reducing the environmental footprint of agriculture, as well as supporting local food chains. The shortening of food supply chains offer a threefold security. It's more than just economic benefits. They are also powerful tools for regional development, because when consumers buy local products, they directly support local farmers and food processors, who in turn spend their income within the same communities. This creates a positive economic loop, strengthening local economies from the ground up. The use of local food products must extend well beyond household catering services, including restaurants, school cafeterias, and public kitchens, represent a major market for local production. With this in mind, in Hungary, we have strictly regulated catering-related public procurements, involvement of smallholders and local producers. Within this legal framework, catering services operating under public procurement contracts, such as municipalities overseeing public catering, are required to source at least 80% of the total value of produced food products from short supply chains or local food stores. The regulation also defines the structure of a catering short supply chain between the primary producer or food processor and the kitchen operator. There may be no more than one actor. This ensures the transparency, traceability, and genuine connection between producer and consumer.
Thank you.
One last point, Mr. Chair, if you allow,
you have 10
very
seconds.
quickly on this, because the alarming age structure in agriculture jeopardizes not only competitiveness, but also food security and sovereignty. And older farmers are not only jeopardizing the future competitiveness, but are reluctant to retire and pass on their farms. And therefore, we have introduced legislative steps for farm succession and generational renewal, with the aim to reduce administrative burdens and make it easier for older farmers to hand over their farms to younger family members during their lifetime. And therefore, we have successively simplified the legal framework for intergenerational farm transfers, and the key element being the so-called farm transfer contract, which ensures the clarity, legal continuity, and smaller transition. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, and thank you for describing this very interesting experience of Hungary, and also for mentioning one point. The most important term in the expression food sovereignty is not food, it's sovereignty. So I think to mention it. Now, there is an intervention from Rwanda.
Thank you, Chair. Excellencies.
Are you okay? I see you now. Okay. Yes, please go ahead. Yeah, please go ahead, please. Have a mic. So maybe let's do one thing. They are repairing your mic. Is Comoros ready? Okay. Over to you, sir. Okay.
Merci. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I just want to share our understanding of food sovereignty.
Okay, so Rwanda is ready. Okay.
Rwanda is ready, yes. Rwanda considered food sovereignty as a national priority. For us, food sovereignty means local solutions for local needs. That is why we focus on resilient production systems, reduced imports, and nutrition for all. These key aspects are central to our 5th-year strategic plan for agricultural transformation, 2024 to 2029, aligned with the National Strategy for Transformation 2 and Vision 2050. One would ask, what is the Rwanda's approach to ensure food sovereignty? First, to boost local productivity horizontally and vertically. This entails scaling access to improved seeds, environment-friendly fertilizers, irrigation, and agricultural advisory services. We put nutrition first. This is reflected under initiatives like school feeding, kitchen gardens, vertical gardening in cities, and fortified foods using local supply products. Promotion of youth, women, and private sector business ideas. It is done by supporting agri-innovation and value addition, jobs, and reduce food waste. Climate smart action. We recently launched our climate smart agriculture investment plan, which covers irrigation, regenerative practices, and the digital advisory services. This is worth about $400 million. And then financing sovereignty. The sovereignty is not, to us, true sovereignty is not isolation. It is a leadership with aligned partnership. Rwanda stands ready with a clear roadmap and bankable priorities in different sectors, which we encourage investors to come and invest in. We invite partners to co-invest in a food system that's homegrown, inclusive, and future-proof. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We have important constraints of time. Donc, les Comores, je vais vous passer la parole, mais je vous prie de prendre 1 minute. Vous devriez avoir plus parce que vous avez beaucoup de choses à expliquer, mais si vous pouvez le dire en 1 minute, ce serait très bien. À vous.
Merci, c'est gentil. Chers collègues ministres, honorable assistance, assalamu alaikum. J'étais d'abord, avant de prendre 1 minute, tel que c'est déjà dit, à remercier une expression que le président du FIDA vient de dire tout à l'heure, la souveraineté alimentaire n'est pas une question d'enfermement. Donc c'est de cela que l'Union de Comores a déjà développé la stratégie, autrement dit une approche de partenariat public-privé population. Donc par rapport au gouvernement comorien, nous nous sommes déjà donné la partie de renforcement du cadre politique, cadre juridique, cadre institutionnel et cadre organisationnel. Et nous avons obligé, nous travaillons avec eux prouvé pour qu'eux, ils puissent prendre en charge d'autres domaines tels que le développement de chaînes de valeur, le développement de l'entrepreneuriat, tout en sachant que les conditions préalables, c'est le gouvernement et les partenaires techniques financiers de les mettre en place. Autrement dit, les pistes rurales et les autres. Par rapport aux paysans, ce que nous avons dit, c'est un de composantes. Nous les avons chargés. Leur rôle de mettre à la disposition ou bien à la circulation des produits de bonne qualité, tout en sachant que les conditions, telles que les laboratoires et les autres, ça appartient au gouvernement. Et je vous remercie.
D'accord, merci. Et merci vraiment d'avoir tenu dans la limite du temps. C'est très appréciable. So now, but we have ended this multi-stakeholder panel and the interventions from the floor. We'll have concluding remarks by the Vice President of Nigeria. So, Zamba 4 minutes. Over to you, Mr. Vice President.
Excellencies, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have come to this gathering with a conviction that food is more than just a commodity. It is identity. It is security. We have come here convinced that the ability to feed oneself as a nation is the first and ultimate assertion of sovereignty. So put to us is the essence of our resilience. But this essence is being tested. The diversity of threats we face from both natural and human actions has pushed us to the edge of reason. It's an edge that could have been one of if we had not fought back. But this threat intensifies by the day and invites us to rise to the challenge of reversing the weakening of our nation's protective shield. The first act of food security is physical security. We cannot grow what we cannot protect. That is why we have remained committed to recalibrating both. We have declared a state of emergency on food security and are moving with urgency and resolve. But this is not panic. It is policy. It is purpose. The Nigeria First economic policy is the scaffolding for our new ambition. It is a commitment to prioritize domestic production, to discourage avoidable imports, and to build resilient food systems rooted in national interests. And this is not a sermon. It is a strategy. Remains the largest contributor to agricultural GDP in West Africa and the third in Africa. We are the world's leading producer of cassava and yam, the second in sweet potatoes, and the third in millet. But these achievements are not laurels. They are reminders of what is at stake if we falter. Between 2013 and 2017, the contribution of agriculture to our GDP dropped by 31%. Behind these statistics is the reality of violent conflicts, farmer harder prices, and climate extremes, realities that erode our productive potential and deepen rural poverty. But Nigeria is not a nation of victims. We are a nation of visionaries. And our strategy is to turn adversity into advantage. We are optimistic about the future because we possess 70.8 million hectares of agricultural land, yet less than half is cultivated. We have 230 billion cubic meters of fresh water and rainfall patterns that favor climate resilient farming across 2/3 of our territory. This is not just capacity, it is destiny. Yet we know that destiny must be financed. We are rethinking the way we finance food, and so we are unlocking access to credit and de-risking agriculture for banks. But we are not stopping at tradition. We are embracing disruption. We have at the center of our quest for food sovereignty a generation of young Nigerians who have introduced new technologies to our food security ambition. They have built crowdfunding platforms that turn everyday citizens into agri-investors, commodity exchanges that are connecting smallholder farmers to national and international markets, and technology that offers extension services. Still, we feel far from the destination. This is so because despite agriculture's outsized contribution to our GDP, we cannot guarantee our national mandate to capture a fair share of the projected $1 trillion African food market by 2030, unless we work together to keep this nation as a food basket of the world that counts on us. And so we come to this roundtable to forge partnerships. We seek capital that understands context. We seek technology that respects tradition. We seek solidarity, not for charity, but for self-preservation. We believe in carrying our poverty with dignity. We are not looking for handouts. We are looking for real partnership that works. We look together. And finally, I want to thank the governments of Italy and Ethiopia. Ethiopia is an African success story worthy of emulation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President, for these concluding remarks, which capture most of the points which were highlighted during the session. We don't have any more time. I will just end by triptych. Food sovereignty is about the right to food. 2, political determination is important. And 3, as the DG of FAO mentioned once, vitamin M is important, and M is money. So thank you very much, and let's give a round of applause to the podium, and turn is closed. Thank you.